Hello, welcome to the Sutliffian Report. Today we have quite the show for you. Um, Looks like it's just me today, and I'll tell you, there is a lot of material on Shariah that will blow your mind today. It's going to be an extra special day because this is first time in a couple of weeks, and just finished a class up on apologetics in Islam out of Southern Evangelical Seminary, which I recommend to everybody. Please go check out that place. Um, Excellent school. Uh, I do want to share with you a reading from God's Word, and let me just pull that up so I can share it with you. I'm amazed with what I've been reading out of the book of Isaiah. I'm kind of mind numbed with some of the simplicity. I say simplicity of God's Word. I look at it. I look at God's Word as a little bit. Sometimes I would say it's written so that we can learn, not just imagine we're learning. I think it's written in such a way that we have to be able to see what's actually happening and through either studying or reading and working. This is just kind of surprising. So give me just a second and I will start. Here we go. This is from Isaiah 9, 6-7. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end upon the throne of David, and upon his kingdom to order it, and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Verse 6 here is a surprise in that it is in the beginning stated in present tense. Matthew Henry connects this to Revelation 13:8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. We should keep in mind that since Jesus is God and God does not change, he, as the Son, pre-existed since the foundation of the world. This explains the use of past tense. It also explains the prophecy given in the Garden of Eden after the fall in Genesis 3:15, giving reference to a woman giving birth to one greater than mankind. God has always existed as more than one. He has always been triune. The titles which come next reference the exact belief. We're talking about the titles. Here we go. Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Those are those titles. Wow. That God is much more than we can grasp. He is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then we get to verse 7. Verse 7 is a reference to the actions of the Prince of Peace. The Lord God in the person of the Son, the Lamb, which was slain, has such love for us that he hastens to do this work. This zeal may seem slow in action to you and I as we exist, but it's as a passing moment in time. When our concept of time is so fleeting, it's hard to grasp how long God is, how it's rushed. But yet this is something rushed by God. When we are looking for this peace, while we live amidst wars and rumors of wars, we know that peace through Christ Jesus, while knowing that the world is not yet peaceful, that's the peace we know. Harry Ironside states, this is because Jesus has yet to sit on the throne of David. He is now sitting on the right hand of God the Father. So we have things yet to come. That's the way to look at this. And here we go. We'll get into this. We're starting part 73. I've looked at the logs in the YouTube and Rumble, and it says part 72. So I'm going to be fighting a little bit with titles, it seems. Hi, Andrew. Glad to see you. Seems a quiet night, and I'm glad to be back. Yeah, hit that like button. Smash it, everybody. All right. I kind of keep on reminding people this word marriage in this book, The Reliance of the Traveler, often is not the word marriage, is the word Nika, or as we call it here, bleep. I'm not going to pronounce that word or even start it. I don't want to give anybody credit for what they should not. Again, this show, because that word is bleep, is not really recommended for young viewers. Although much of what we're talking about today is not necessarily about sex, but it is about marriage, and it might be a little heavy for a younger person. All right. And we are getting into this today. We're starting with M6.0, unmarriageable kin. It is unlawful for one to marry one's ancestors. I'm reading from the left side. This is what they've written. Descendants, parents' descendants, or the first generation of one's grandparents' offspring, meaning one's paternal or maternal aunts, or uncles if one's female. Now, this is getting interesting because I'm going to prove this wrong in a few minutes. One marriageable kin are those one is forbidden to marry forever. All right. According to M6.1, it's unlawful, or meaning both sinful and legally invalid, for a man to marry his mother. Okay, that's true. A man is not supposed to marry his mother. But again, I'm going to prove to you some of this is wrong. It's unlawful for him to marry his grandmothers. Unlawful for a man to marry his daughters. And that's one of those things I'm going to prove to you is not necessarily accurate. It's unlawful for a man to marry his daughters of his children's children and on down. Well, don't we call that incest? Haven't we called all of this? All of what they're listing is incest. Daughters or brothers or sisters, their children's daughters, and on down. Well, we have a problem here. As Usama's been pointing out, and I will just push this over on the screen in a minute. There is a problem here. And let's see if I can get this up real quick. Because I had it up yesterday and I had to move things. Oh, yeah, here we go. It's already set up. Let's take a look what Quran chapter 33, verse 50 says. Oh, you prophet, surely we have made it lawful for you, your wives, whom you have given their wages, and those that your right hand possesses, those are the sex slaves, which Allah has granted you, and the daughters of your paternal uncle. So you can have sex with so you can have sex and marry your cousins, and the daughters of your paternal aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncle, and the daughters of your maternal aunts, those who emigrate with you. And a believing woman, if she gives herself to the prophet, if the prophet desires to have sex with her, this is a privilege for Muhammad, but not for any other believers. Keep thinking about this. This one verse says Muhammad can have sex with anyone he desires. Nice. Just the kind of perv you want in your neighborhood. All right. Let's take a look what it says here on the right. It says it's forbidden for a man to marry his roots, his descendants, the descendants of his parents, the descendants of his grandfathers and grandmothers. That would mean he can't have sex with his grandparents, his cousins, or he can't marry them, but we just read that they were allowed to. So this is, yeah. Keep thinking about that. So this is not exactly accurate information. And I mean, it's there at the same time, it's not there. So you have to take some of what this is saying is not fully accurate. Again, this is Sharia, and you would think it would be telling you the truth, but it's Sharia. It's Muslims lie to Muslims. It's a sad, sad statement. All right, we just read it out of the Quran. Is Sharia correcting the Quran here? I think at some point in here you have a confusion. If Sharia is correcting the Quran in this verse, Why do Muslims continue to marry their first cousins? Why this week? This week in particular. All right. Why this week did we have in the UK a member of parliament asked to make a law? He was requesting to make a law against first cousin marriages for members for the United Kingdom. But Iqbal Muhammad decided I'm just going to pull this up. I did this news story, and I'll pull up the video so you can hear it. It's kind of disgusting. Here it is. All right. And I'll pull this up so you can understand what I'm talking about. I think it's right there. All right. Yep. I'm going to have to stop sharing and share. All right. So just a second. This is the joy of doing everything. Here we go. Let's turn on the sound. This is a Muslim arguing for to allow first cousin marriage because there's a proposed law against it. This should blow your mind. Not something you would expect to hear or see in the Western world, but it is what it is. We have Muslims arguing that you should be allowed to marry your first cousin.
An estimated 35 to 50% of all sub-Saharan African populations either prefer or accept cousin marriages, and it is extremely common in the Middle East and in South Asia. The reason the practice is so common is that ordinary people see family intermarriage overall as something that is very positive, something that helps build family bonds and helps put families on a more secure financial foothold.
I have to ask, when you marry your first cousin, how does that make a family more secure financially? I mean, marriage in some ways should make you more secure financially. I get that. But if that's your argument, it's just the same argument for marriage as a whole, not versus marrying your cousin's going to make you better off more financially. I mean, you could marry somebody else that might make you better off financially. You don't have to marry your first cousin to do this. This is crazy.
However, as is well documented, it is not without health risks for the children of those relationships, some of whom will be born out of wedlock.
Wait. So he's saying the cousins are they're doing it anyways, without getting married. Oh, isn't that breaking their own rules? Whoa.
Instead of stigmatizing those who are in cousin marriages or those inclined to be, a much more positive approach would be to facilitate advanced genetic test screening for prospective married couples, as is the
he's going to lie here. He's going to say they test
case in all Arab countries in the Persian Gulf.
They do not do this in the Persian Gulf. I challenge him to find us one testing center in Syria. I challenge him to find one testing center required before marriage in all of the Persian Gulf area. In any Muslim country, when we're talking about first cousins getting married, my bet is you won't find one Muslim country willing to test one couple every time any couple when they get married. That you won't find it. So why is he insisting on lying? Is because he thinks all Westerners are stupid.
And more generally, to run health education programs targeting those communities where the practice is most common. I would therefore urge the House to vote against this motion and to find a more positive approach to addressing the issues that are caused by first cousin marriages, including the health risks and the consequences of modern conflicts and displacement of population.
So what he's saying is the real issue here is that Muslims are coming to the West. Wait a minute. So this is not a UK problem. That's what he's saying. It's not a problem of you Brits. It's a problem of us Muslims. We're coming here because of conflict, and you want to outlaw our having our cousin marriages. It's bad enough you don't want us marrying the 6-year-olds. Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about that topic later on today. Ugh. You'll probably want to take a shower when we're done. All right. M6.1, it says it is forbidden by the meaning of committing sin, marriage to one's mother, maternal grandmothers, or paternal grandmothers, no matter how high they are, daughters of sons, no matter how low they are, their sisters, daughters of brothers and sisters, no matter how low they are, paternal aunts, no matter how high they are, the wife's mother and grandmother, the wives of his fathers and sons, all these are forbidden by virtue of the contract. And the mother of his wife's daughter, are you catching this? The mother of his wife's daughter. The mother of his wife's daughter. The ma, his wife. So, is this a stepdaughter? I have a lot of questions with the wording here. And the mother of his wife's daughter is not forbidden, except by consummation with the mother. That is weird. It's like saying you can have sex with your wife. So you kind of sit there like, is that really what you're saying? Or are you saying something else? All right. Here we go. Going to the next one. We're going to continue this. Now, these are the other listed here. Mother's sisters, grandmother's sisters, and on up, father's sisters, father's sisters, wife's mother, wife's grandmother, the wives of the father's father, the wives of the children's children, and on down. All of whom, according to 9 through 12, are unlawful for him to marry by the mere fact of marriage. As for a man's wife or daughter, he said, from a different husband, she is not unlawful for him to marry until he has had sexual intercourse with her mother. Wait. The man's wife, okay. He can't have sex with a daughter if he's had sexual intercourse with the mother. If it's a stepdaughter situation, he can have sex with a stepdaughter. Yeah. So this is really nasty. Were he divorced the mother before intercourse, then he could have sex with the daughter. Oh. And it's written like this over in the translation. It says, if he divorces the mother before consummating the marriage, her daughter is permissible for him. Yeah. And he is forbidden from her homeland from one of his fathers, who on down, and the mothers of his wives who are on his own or suspected of owning it. And this is pretty nasty. There again, you're talking about having sex with a mother or with the daughter. Yeah. So some of this information they're giving us is doublespeak. And wait, they're not giving this to us. This is what they're giving to fellow Muslims. And it's no wonder the Muslims are confused. All right, M6.2. It is unlawful and invalid for a woman to marry her father or grandfather and on up. So this is kind of the reverse. It's just the woman's way of talking about it. They're talking about the woman's perspective. She's not allowed to marry her dad, her grandpa, and on up. She's not allowed to marry her son's son, her, again, daughter's son, on. She's not allowed to marry her brother, the father's brother, meaning the brother of any male ancestor. But she's not allowed to marry her uncles, is what she's saying. It's saying here. Mother's brother, again, not allowed to marry uncles. Brother's son. Oh, she's not allowed to marry her grandchildren. Number 7, the husbands of her mother. So she, again, not allowed to marry grandparents. The husband of her daughter. Okay, so she's not allowed to have, I mean, if she's alone, she's not allowed to marry and be a second wife to her daughter, to her daughter's husband. And this is just how it's going. M6.2 says in the Google Translate version, it says it's forbidden and invalid for a woman to marry her marams, which are these are the forbidden ones. The following men, her father and her grandfather. Again, this is very much the same. There's point 10. This is the one I want you to pay attention to. And her relatives by breastfeeding. Now, the relatives by breastfeeding. Remember, this is what's in Shariah. This is a note here. In Shariah, in order for a woman to have a non-close relation visit her when the husband's not home, she has to breastfeed him, and he becomes I think it was 10 times she has to breastfeed him. I think that might have been reduced to 5. I can't remember, 5 or 10. We were talking about that this week. And you start thinking about this. What kind of a perv came up with this idea? Well, it's Mo again. Mo Cutham. He likes the idea of woman's breasts. So he says in order for someone to come and not be thought of as being sexually aroused, the woman has to breastfeed the man 10 times, and then that person becomes a relationship. And you're telling me, yeah, I mean, this is quite a statement. I think Muhammad has sex on the brain, and he wants other people to have sex on the brain. And it's like renting out your relative, your wife, to do this. I just think it's disgusting. All right, let's keep going on. Going M6.3. It is forbidden to marry a woman and her sister or maternal aunt. So that's what they're saying on the left. It's unlawful for a man to marry both a woman and her sister. So you can't marry sisters. It's forbidden for a man to marry both a woman and her father's sister. So a woman and her father's, yeah, okay. Or a woman and her mother's sister. So we just have a different aunt. Then it says in the Google Translate, but if a man's marriage to one of the aforementioned women ends and the waiting period ends, there's nothing wrong with him marrying another. So this is an excuse out of the rule. And you won't find it there. It's kind of, in English it's there for the first time. If man no longer married to one of the above, he can go marry the other one. This is the God of disgusting. Oh boy. All right. This one did not get translated. And went back and spent some time with Usama on this one. It says the interpretation of the following verse by the Muslim scholar Al-Qartobi clearly teaches that a man can marry his own daughter or his sister who was conceived from an adulterous relationship. And this can be found in Quran 25:54. And he is who created people from the water. So he made it a relative and a kinship. And your Lord was mighty. Think about that. So this actually says this. If a man marries a woman and then his father or son marries her under suspicion, or he has intercourse with her mother or daughter under suspicion, her marriage is dissolved. If If they marry, it is not dissolved, because the prohibition by marriage is a respect of lawful intercourse. But as for adultery, it is not respected and does not result in the prohibition of mothers and daughters and the like. So the Islamic scholar, one of the leading Islamic scholars, says that a man can marry his own daughter or his sister who was conceived. Yeah. He can marry his own daughter or his sister that was conceived in an adulterous relationship. Wow. M6.5. Yeah. This is disgusting. That's why I said it was probably not a good show for kids to watch. Don't be surprised. We're reading Shariah, and it's supposed to be the Book of BLEEP. It's yeah. We're definitely going to take a shower when I'm done. M6.5. What is forbidden by lineage is forbidden by breastfeeding. So whomever breastfeeds from a woman is forbidden to do what is forbidden to her children and her children's children. I'm reading the right side here. Let's take a look at what they told us. M6.5, the same categories of relatives who are unlawful for one to marry because of one's kinship relation to them are also unlawful to one by foster relationships, which means they have been breastfed. So they actually talked about the breastfeeding in the English by a particular wet nurse in infancy. Wet nurse, that's supposed to be the woman who allows, let's be honest here, they're not talking about, yeah. Whoever breastfeeds from a woman is forbidden to do what is forbidden to her children and her husband. So they're talking about the breastfeeding of men, not the breastfeeding of children. This is just disgusting. So she's not allowed to marry the men she breastfeeds. Those are supposed to be the ones that aren't marriageable to her, or that are not relationships to her. They could be marriageable, but now that she has made them her children by breastfeeding them, she's not allowed to marry them. Okay. Should her husband die, sorry, you have to let her stay on the side of the road. No one to support her, because the one she was interested in, that she was breastfeeding, she can't marry him. Can you imagine you have a woman whose husband dies, and she's had this regular gentleman visit. He's fulfilled the breastfeeding obligation. And they're going to ask him, well, you used to go visit her. Did you actually? I mean, if you didn't, you're violating the rules. But if you did, now you can't marry her. Who's going to ask that question? Wow. M6.6. That's this line that's no longer there. It's kind of, I say no longer, it's not translated. And whoever has been forbidden to marry her, we have mentioned that he has been forbidden to have intercourse with her. And he has the right to have intercourse with her. Wait, whoever's been forbidden to marry, that he's been forbidden to have sex with her, where he has the right to have. So you can be forbidden to marry someone, that you can be forbidden to have sex with them, but he has the right to have sex with her. And whoever has intercourse with her and then marries a sister or her aunt or maternal aunt, and the married woman is permissible from and the owned woman. So because this mentions slavery, they did not translate it. This is just, this is about slavery, sex slavery. It's about renting women out. This is disgusting. Yes, it's exactly it, Ed. This is muta. Yes, the owned woman, forbidden. Again, you're testing things out before you marry. Ugh. Or is there a promise? Remember, you have to have a contract. We've already read about there having to be a contract. We're going to get into that more. All right. M6.7. It is unlawful for a Muslim man to marry, it says on the left, a Zoroastrian woman. 2, an idol worshiper. 3, an apostate from Islam. So this is someone who has left Islam. Or a woman with one parent who is Jewish or Christian while the other is Zoroastrian. Number 5, person that was unlawful for a Muslim man to marry. Any woman who is either a Muslim, Christian, or, it is not lawful or valid for a Muslim man to be married to any woman who is not a Muslim, Christian, or Jew. Nor is it lawful or valid for a Muslim woman to be married to anyone besides a Muslim. So the guy can marry anyone he wants, pretty much, as long as he brings them to Islam, is what they're trying to say. But the Muslim woman can only marry a Muslim man. This is to preserve Islam. M6.7, according to Google Translate, says this. It is forbidden for a Muslim to marry a Zoroastrian woman, a pagan woman, or an apostate, if one of the parents is a Christian and the other a Christian. Or, notice this part's not translated, a Christian slave woman, his son's slave girl, his own slave girl, or his female slave, but it's permissible to have sex with them by right of possession. Yes, they own them. They can have sex with everyone they own, all their slaves. Isn't it nice that they hide that from us? Oh, they want to protect our eyes for their love of sex slaves. Ugh. It's so filthy. All right. M6.8. It is unlawful for a man who has divorced his wife by public imprecation, it says, to remarry her, though she is not considered his unmarriageable kin, which is the forbidden guy, and he may not look at or be alone with her. In the Google Translate, it says, and it is forbidden sexual intercourse. So basically, it's unlawful for a man who has divorced his wife by being seen publicly. He basically publicly defamed her to remarry her. Okay, I'm being polite and saying these things. Then it says he's not allowed to look at her or be alone with her. We would call this, I guess in Western world, you might say she has an order of protection against him. This is just kind of nuts. Yeah, it is exactly that, Ed. I like that. It's like brains are forbidden in Islam. Yeah, that's right. 6.9. On the left, it says it's unlawful to marry a woman who is in a state of pilgrim sanctity, Imram, which they call that. They're not allowed to have sex, and they're not allowed to marry. So in what we studied in Shariah, they weren't allowed to have sex. And I don't remember them talking about marriage. I remember them talking about having sex. I mean, the reason they're talking about her waiting period, I mean, this has to do with having sex, not having marriage. So, yeah. Again, they're using the word marriage. There is a word for marriage, and there is a different word. The nikah word is the F word, and I said I wasn't going to say that. It's bad. All right, here we go. M6.10. It is unlawful for a free man to marry more than 4 women. It is fitter to confine oneself to just one. Well, Guys, I have to say, if you think you can be married to more than one woman, you're a brave soul. I think you're insane. All right. You can't keep women. I think you'd go nuts in the long run. I just think you would be nuts. trying to please two women, I think, would be insane. But trying to please four or more is even more insane. All right. In English, it says, it is forbidden for a free man to have more than 4 wives. It's better to limit himself to one. Now, in English, M6.1, which is hidden from us, says this. He may have sex with the right hand as... Wait a minute. Is he talking about sex slaves? Or is he talking about masturbation? Start thinking about that. He may have intercourse with the right hand as much as he wishes. It is forbidden to have more than 2 wives uneyed. It's forbidden for him to have, it's forbidden to him not to actually have 2 wives, but actually to have sex with 2 women, 2 different women uneyed. It is forbidden for a free man to marry a Muslim slave woman unless he fears hardship, which is falling into adultery, and he does not have a free woman suitable for enjoyment and is unable to provide a dowry for a free woman or the price of a suitable slave woman. So he can marry a slave woman. This is just, it says he can and then he can't. This is really bizarre. It's like a contradiction within the same sentence. When he's talking about the right hand, you'd think they're talking about the slave woman, or they're talking about sex with the right hand. All right, that would be the slave woman. Yes, this is just, yeah. You have to sit there and go, what? Where is your brain? This is just, it's kind of nutty. All right, we're going to go on. M6.12. On the left, it says, the following types of marriage are legally invalid. Now, this section Christians and Jews should pay special attention to. Number 1, to marry by trading daughters or sisters, such that the marriage of each by the guardian of the other supposedly takes place. You hear this? Supposedly takes place of the woman's marriage payment. So M6.12 at the beginning says the marriage of shigar is not valid, nor is the marriage of pleasure, muta, which is when he marries her for a known period of time. So he gave her money, just like you're paying a prostitute. All right. This is just so bad. That's that temporary marriage. And it says it's legally invalid. So again, number 2, it says the temporary marriage, muta, to marry a woman for a stipulated period. They're saying this is legally invalid. All right, number 3, or to marry a woman after her 3-fold divorce solely to cohabitate and thus permit her to remarry her previous husband. So if you, and thus permit, so this is really weird because, again, if you read the English, it's like you can't be the one to get in, to have sex with a woman so she can go back and see her husband. It's like they legislated against this. And at the same time, the marriage contract, I mean, the stuff on marriage says, yes, you have to allow her to do this. It's backwards. In the Google Translate, it says this. Marriage of shigar is not valid. So they're talking about a legally invalid marriage. Nor is the marriage of pleasure, muta, which is when he marries her for a known period of time, such as the month, or an unknown period, such as the arrival. Nor is the marriage of muhalil, which is when he marries her to make her permissible for the one who divorces her 3 times. If he contracts for that purpose and does not stipulate any conditions, it is valid. So he can, but he can't. This is crazy. So that third marriage, I'd be interested in that third divorce when she's supposed to go have sex with somebody else before she gets returned. Is that a marriage or is that muta? I mean, it sounds like an engagement of muta. She's got to be used. Yeah, this is nasty, nasty, nasty stuff. All right, we're going through this rather quickly, and I'm kind of thankful about that. But it is just nasty. It is nasty. All right, we're up to M7.0. Defects in the spouse permitting annulment of marriage. What are we talking about, people? What kind of defects, physical defects, could allow an annulment? Well, we're talking about he has certain problems that don't allow them to have children, or she has problems that don't allow her to have children. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. On the left, it says, if in any of the following circumstances, the husband or wife has the option to annul the marriage agreement immediately, if this is done in the presence of the Islamic magistrate or a third party chosen to judge between them, provided that he is the judge and there is no Islamic judge. All right. That's kind of contradictory. Even when the partner annulling the marriage has the same defect, whose existence in the spouse has motivated him or her to annul it. So they can, get rid of each other, basically. One must be faster than the other, from the way this reads. And one finds that the spouse is not sane. Okay. So you can get a marriage if your spouse is a nutcase. Let's see. Would Sinmar's wife be allowed to say he's not sane? He's being a good jihadi, so I guess he's being a good Muslim. He's cheating Muslims. Gotta sit there and wonder. Or he has elephantitis or leprosy. Okay. The husband finds the wife's, here we go, and this is what they translate in English. It finds the wife's vagina is closed or nearly so because of an abnormal growth or fluff of flesh or bone. Notice how this is worded. It's the abnormal growth. They're not talking about FGM, where the woman's sewn up pretty much. And that is quite interesting. Number 3 here, or the wife finds that the husband is impotent, or that his penis has been severed, removed due to battle. Somebody cut it off in battle. All right, on the right. If one of them finds the other insane, leprous, or finds him or her to be leprous or horny, that's what it said in English, or finds him or her impotent or castrated, the option to annul the marriage is established immediately before the judge. And the judge, thank you, Nico, for joining us. And the judge is like the arbitrator in that, with the condition that he or she is a mujtahid and not a judge. Whether he or she has that defect, or if both of them have the same defect, such as the insanity of each of them, or not, if the defect was, which established the option is taken after the contract, the option is also established. So they're allowed to get rid of each other if either one of them is impotent. That's what they're basically saying. If he has a severed, or she can't produce children, this is a reason for them to divorce or annul the marriage. Kind of Whoa. Thank you for joining us, Nico. Happy to have you. All right. We're going to keep going.
Sorry, I'm late, Paul. Thanks.
What I should say is everybody should be praying for Sharon. Sharon's not feeling well. She could definitely use our prayers. Miss her terrible, and just she'd like to be here. She's just not feeling well. She's going through a tough period of time, and definitely could keep her in your prayers, guys. All right. This is nasty stuff. This goes on. In the English, it goes on and it says on the left, it says, or the wife finds that the husband is impotent or that his penis, again, has been severed. The agreement may be annulled when the defect occurs after making a marriage agreement, except when a husband's impotence occurs after he's had sexual relations with his wife, in which case the annulment is no longer possible. Why? Because you have to wait and find out if a child's produced. Oh, so now she has a waiting period of time. But if she finds out before they've had intercourse, which means you guys should wait till you're married anyways, keep it in your pants, right? Not that he could do anything about it because he's impotent. Wait, again, if he's impotent, maybe that he could use those little blue pills. I don't know. Gosh, it's just so disgusting here. They're divorce. They're annulling their marriage based on this. I mean,
I've got one question.
Okay.
Why was he wearing a suit? This is people are like, what are you talking about? Why was he wearing a suit? Well, if he's gonna be impotent, might as well look impotent. Sorry, that meant to be a joke.
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that one. Wow, that works.
The 70s, I think, the 80s, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, it comes back. All right, gosh. Wow. Can you? I mean, they were at war all the time. I can imagine coming home and the woman looks at her husband who has like 4 wives, and he's no longer able to make them happy. Can all 4 wives divorce him? Oh, the answer would be yes. Here's the catch. What happens to those 4 wives? Are they supposed to support themselves? He's probably happier that way. I mean, it's not like he can. This is just bad. I don't know. He wouldn't have to support the 4 women, but if they divorce him, is there a guarantee they will be able to be cared for? And that's the other opposite sounding horrible thing there. All right, here we go again. M7.2. Would you like to read, Nico?
Sure.
All right.
When marriage is annulled before sexual intercourse, the woman does not receive her marriage payment, mar, no matter whether the defect is in her or him, as opposed to divorce before sexual intercourse, as discussed in M8.7. When a marriage is annulled after intercourse because of a defect that occurred after it, the full marriage payment stipulated by their agreement must be paid to her. When a marriage is annulled after sexual intercourse because of a defect that occurred before intercourse, whether simultaneously with the marriage agreement or after it, but before intercourse. Okay. Then
Is this contradictory? Are we getting? Yeah.
All schematic, like engineering kind of thing here again.
Yeah. If then tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the bride is only given the amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. In Google Translate, it says, if the annulment occurred before consummation, then there's no dowry. All right, so she doesn't get paid. Her parents don't get paid, right? Whether the defect was with her or with him. Either way, he gets his money back, basically. or after it is far away, it happens after intercourse, so deafness is required. That doesn't exactly make sense. All right. Or the annulment was due to a defect that occurred before consummation. Whether it was a concurrent with a contract. I mean, then this is just, they're thinking about the money they're paying for the bride. Yeah. Oh, another wonderful piece here. Also not translated. This is disgusting. If he stipulates that she was free and she turned out to be a slave girl, he is one of those for whom it is permissible to marry a slave girl. So again, we have the slave. He has a girl he believes he was kind of interested in. He finds out she's a slave girl. Now he can marry the slave girl. He has a choice. If he stipulates that she was a slave girl and she turns out to be free, wait. Can he make her free? Can he make her a slave girl then? Oh boy. And she did not, and turns out to be a slave. Okay. He did not stipulate, and she turned out to be a slave girl or a woman of the people of the book. Oh, she could be Christians or Jews. He has no choice. If a slave marries a slave girl and she is freed, she has the right to annul his marriage immediately without a judge. Guys, they're saying Islam allows them to annul, to basically create the divorce, to end a marriage of non-Muslims. But we're talking about, I mean, if a Muslim, let's put this as simple as it, if she turned out to be a slave girl or a woman of the people of the book, all right, this just allows an annulment if he finds out she is a Christian. And he didn't know it beforehand. That's reason for him to annul a marriage. I'm going to say this, Christians should be dating Christians. All right, and they should be waiting till marriage. If you're thinking you can marry a Muslim man and bring him to Christ, you're not being a good Christian, because you're supposed to be equally yoked. You're both supposed to be, and guys, I'll put it as simple as this: your job's to provide. I'm going to be as selfish as I can in this explanation. Your job is to provide, not to be a leech off of her. You're not supposed to be using her for that. Yes, she can make more money than you, but think about it. That doesn't really matter. You should be doing something to provide. And that's important. Wow. Notice they got rid of all this. They didn't translate it up here because they're talking about slaves. And they mentioned a slave girl or a woman of the people of the book. That means she could be a free woman, but she would be a dhimmi. And she would be forced to listen and obey them. That's what dhimmis have to do. They have to obey their Muslim masters. Yeah. This is just disgusting. All right. Nico, M7.4 on the left, please.
Okay. If any of the following occurs before intercourse has taken place, then the marriage is immediately annulled. 1. One of a couple who are idlers become a Muslim.
Wait.
Yeah.
If a Muslim is about to marry another Muslim, and if you have two people, they're getting married, You have two people who do not like Islam getting married, and one of them becomes a Muslim. Nope, now you're not allowed to get married because you can't have the female, especially, marrying a non-Muslim. So
Okay.
either way, okay. All right, go ahead, Nico. This next one here.
Yeah, that's and all right. So number two, one of the Zoroastrian couple becomes a Muslim. 3, the wife of a Jew or Christian becomes a Muslim. 4, both husband and wife leave Islam. Or 5, or one of them leaves Islam. One of them does.
Mm-hmm.
But when one of the above things happens after intercourse, then a waiting period must intervene before the marriage is annulled. If both husband and wife become Muslim before the waiting period finishes, then their marriage continues. And if not, then the marriage is considered to have been over since the change of religion first took place.
So they're using the word annul. Annul is usually something before intercourse. And that's something to think about. They're saying they can end a marriage of between two non-Muslims simply because they're non-Muslim. And if one of them becomes a Muslim before marriage, they can end the marriage. Even if, these are third parties allowed. Notice up on the 7.4 on the top, it's on the left, it said, if one of the following occurs before marriage has taken place, then the marriage is immediately annulled. So the person officiating over the marriage would have the job to annul the marriage if he knows this stuff. Ugh. On the right, it says, if one of the pagan or Zoroastrian spouses converts to Islam, or if the woman converts to Islam while the husband is Jewish or Christian, or if both Muslim spouses or one of them apostatizes, leaves Islam, basically, then it is before consummation, the separation is hastened. And if it is after, it's suspended until the waiting period, because you have to have the waiting period to determine she is not pregnant. If they agree to Islam before the expiration of the waiting date, the marriage continues. That's pretty much what it said on the left. And it's just kind of, you sit there going, wait, they can control who gets married by Shariah. And that's just kind of, that's, I don't have a better definition of it besides ick. M7.5, if he converts to Islam after more than 4, he should choose 4 of them. What are we talking about? Oh, are we talking about the wives? Let's read it in English, the English translation by the Muslims. When a non-Muslim man has more than 4 wives, becomes Muslim, he is obliged to choose just 4 of them, and the others' marriages are annulled. Wow. I don't know of anyone besides Mormons who are really into polytheism. So you kind of wonder what pagan faith they're talking about. We can have all these wives, but there was a lot of paganism. So yeah. All right, we're moving on. We're talking about the bride's marriage payment. And they're using the word mar, and mar translates as dowry. If you could read that one on the left, Nico.
All right. The bride's marriage payment, mar. The marriage payment is the money, okay, use for this, sorry. All right, M8.1. It is sana to name the amount of suna, thank you. To name the amount of the marriage payment in the marriage agreement. To prevent discord. If it is not mentioned, it does not hurt. The validity of the marriage, though if unmentioned in the agreement, it is considered to be the amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides. There is completely scholarly consensus on the validity of a contract that does not mention it. though it is offensive not to. Well, that's okay.
It sounds like double speak.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, so Suna in this book, in the Reliance of the Traveler, the translator uses the word Suna in a different way than the rest of Islam uses it. He basically says it's lawful. Wait a minute. Sunnah, when it's used in Islam in any other context, means it's from the Hadith, it's from the Sirahs and the Quran. That's what it basically means. It's Sunnah. All right. Okay. And they're not actually saying that. So whenever you see it's Sunnah in Reliance of the Traveler, you have to stop and ask is this what it normally means or not? In general, in Reliance of the Traveler, you're going to see it used incorrectly. And the translator is the one who makes a statement saying he creates his own definition. So this is kind of, yeah. M8.1, it says it is recommended to name him in the contract because it is more effective in preventing litigation. So you're married and the Muslim man doesn't want his name in the contract. Do you think he wants out? Why would you get married and your Muslim husband's name or your husband's name not be on the contract? I mean, would you be saying, what's going on here? Why didn't you sign? Why isn't his name anyplace? Why is it only your name? Who did you marry? Nobody? It's recommended to name him? I don't know what to say here. We do have. We can go back to Syria or Afghanistan. You can see what Shariah really looks like. It says if he is not mentioned, it does not harm the validity of the marriage. It makes you think. What exactly are they doing by leaving his name out? If the contract does not include him, then it is referred to the dower of his peers, and omitting him from it is permissible by the consensus, but with dislike. Really, guys, I want you to think about this. Would you allow your sister to get married, and she tells you the marriage license won't have his name on it? Yeah. I would be freaking out as the big brother. I probably want to go punch the guy in the face. What do you mean you're not putting your name on the marriage line? Are you married to someone else? Are you secretly married to someone? Have you not told her about this? Is that why you're not putting your name on there? Doesn't this raise all sorts of bells and whistles? I mean, Nico, you probably have why would this guy not put his name on the marriage contract?
I'm stumped, to be honest with you. You got me here.
You know what I think the answer is? He wants to divorce her and walk away with whatever he got from the dowry. That's it. I mean, what are they going to say? Well, they're going to try and get the dowry back, but he's already got the dowry. And as they say, possessions is 9/10 of the law. But now they can't prove that she gave it to him, or the parents can't prove they gave him a dowry because his name is no place on the contract. But that's okay. Oh, this is disgusting. It's like leaving the girls high and dry. Yeah. All right. M8.2.
No
A
pun.
guardian may not. I'm going to have you read the right side. Think about this one. A guardian may not marry his prepubescent daughter to someone for less than the amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides, nor marry his prepubescent son to a female who was given more than the amount typically received. So the little girl, who's like 6 years old, He says he can't marry her for less. So you can't basically sell off your daughter and expect less than you would if you married off your 17-year-old daughter. You expect the same payment. Maybe Muslims might pay more because she's a little girl. And it reminds, they might make them think of being like Muhammad. I don't know. This is disgusting. Okay, Nico, can you read the M8.2 on the right?
He does not marry his prepubescent young daughter for less. The son of the like dowry, nor his young son with more than the like dowry. If he does so, the specified amount is void and the like dowry is obligatory, in both cases for the validity of the marriage.
So a young prepubescent son can be given to a young prepubescent girl can be given to a prepubescent son. You could establish a contract between first cousins, basically, saying you're going to marry a 6-year-old girl. She's going to marry you had a young 10-year-old or whatever prepubescent boy that hasn't entered puberty. I mean, the 6-year-old that he's born, they're going to make a contract, but you expect that certain amount of money that you get if she, whatever age she normally would get married. Ugh. Again, we're talking about children having sex. And, yeah. This is disgusting. And this is in their law. Ugh. All right. Can you read the left 8.3, please?
Okay. Nor many a foolhardy man marry a woman for more than the amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides.
Now, this is interesting. I kind of, if I'm looking at the left, it says, nor may a foolhardy man marry a woman for more than the amount typical. So if the woman's parents are getting paid or if she's getting paid in some way for marrying, okay, you got a guy who's going to need to be taken care of the rest of his life. I mean, she's going to have to physically take care of him, maybe wipe his butt. I don't know. She's not too bright. She's going to make sure he doesn't spend all the money. She's going to be the one in charge of the money, so he's not shown as a foolhardy fool. You'd think she'd want to be paid more. She's working harder. Yeah, and she knows she's going to be thought as an idiot because she married a fool. I don't know. Yeah. M8.3 on the right in the Google Translate version. The foolish and slave shall not marry for more than the dowry of his peers. You're not going to pay them off for more money. This is just...
Okay, so now we're getting down to what's going on here. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So, foolhardy man, slave. Fantastic. All right. Got it.
Yeah. It just makes you think. Yeah. All right.
This is kind of sort of like, in essence, where Muslims can steal from each other, but to steal from the kafir is halal, kind of thing.
But they do, because they lie to each other. They deceive each other all the time. In this country, over here in the United States, we have many inner city stores. And most of them, since Muslims have been coming over here since 2001, they really, really have taken over most inner city corner stores. And they basically are cheating each other in the store. And of course, they're cheating the kafir as well. Yeah, they're cheating the non-Muslim like mad. Your local soda in the United States probably costs about $1 at a store. Maybe $1.20, $5, maybe at the most. But in these corner stores, it might be $2 to $3. So, yeah, this is a huge difference in pricing. It's highly inflated. And, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim or not, you're getting cheated in one of these places. That's a horrible statement, but it's actual reality. All right. M8.4 says anything that may be lawfully used as a price, again, we're talking about the dowry, may be given as a marriage payment. It may be paid immediately or deferred, and may be an individual article, a financial obligation, or the use or benefit of something. So, if you have livestock, can it be used to pay the dowry? Yes. If you have gold, can it be used to pay the dowry? Yes. This kind of makes some sense. Anything that may be lawfully used as a price. Yeah, to pay the price. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Nico, you want to read 8.5 on the left?
All right. The bride possesses the marriage payment when it has been expressly stipulated in the marriage agreement, whether validity stipulated or invalidly. If valid, she owns the amount stated, while if invalid, she owns the amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides. She may dispose of it when she accepts it, and her ownership of it is finalized with her husband when her husband has sexual intercourse with her, after which none of it is refundable, or when one of them dies before they have had intercourse.
So this is her getting she's receiving the money, all right? And this is basically it. She doesn't really get to the contract isn't fulfilled until she's fulfilled her wifely duty, I guess is the way to do it, of having sex with her husband. She can't, she could probably walk away at that point, but she can't be, she wouldn't be able to take it, or her parents would. And you sit there wondering who's getting this money sometimes. Keep talking about the dowry. Are the parents getting paid, or is it the woman getting paid? And it's not always the same, but a lot of times it is the parent. And in the Google Translate, it says, and he owns it by naming, i.e., which means, for example, mentioning it in the body of the contract, whether it is correct or invalid. The correct naming means owning the named thing. Oh, so if his name is there and her name is there, that means he owns her. Oh, so maybe when the guy didn't want his name there, he didn't want to be known as being married to the woman, or that she would be. There's a whole lot of other questions that can come in here. Yeah. And then it says, and in the invalid naming, he owns the dowry. And you dispose of it by taking possession. So who takes possession of the dowry? That's the woman or the parents. And it is settled by entering, entering into a sexual relationship, so nothing's dropped of it, or by the death of one of them before entering. Wow. It sounds perverted, but yeah.
Yep.
I was surprised their terminology is very, very vulgar. But, it's Islam. We've got to expect it. All right. M8.6, you want to read the top? Okay.
If payable immediately, the bride may refuse to have sexual intercourse until her husband gives her the marriage payment. Though if she allows him to have intercourse with her before she accepts the amount, she may no longer refuse to have intercourse. Okay, but may demand the amount. All right.
Let's think about this. Wait. She can refuse if she hasn't got her payment, right? But if she allows him to have sex with her before she's received anything, she has to continually put out. This is just, wait a minute. How many times does she have to? Oh, she has to every time he wants it. Yeah.
Right.
What if he hasn't paid and he's like a week behind? Well, too bad for her. What about a month down the road? Well, too bad for her. How about a year down the road? This says he has a right to her. Oh, boy. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. This is just so nasty.
And it just begs the question of what kind of quote unquote marriage are we talking about here? Are we talking about marriage, or Muslim marriage? But I mean, given everything that we're talking about,
are we talking about sex for a few minutes? What are we talking about?
Yeah, but even in that case, even if we're talking about let's call it regular marriage, so to speak. I mean, all the stuff that they're talking about, would you even compare this to what we consider marriage? I mean, I'm thinking about. Sorry.
The dowry used to be a normal thing in Europe and around the world. Dowries used to be a normal thing. Today, that's not.
Right, but the way all these stipulations, and I mean, this is not comparable to European, at least.
Oh, no. I mean, you're not paying for sex. In each of these cases in Islam, you're paying for sex.
Exactly.
I mean, this is why prostitution is such a high rate down there, but they won't admit to it because, of course, there's got to be witnesses. 4 witnesses. Yeah, well, it's like, I'm going to be doing a show with Dr. Lloyd de Jong, and this guy had said in the video that he basically is like, well, Christians don't have to be concerned about Shariah, and he talked about rape, how there has to be multiple witnesses. Well, none of them are allowed to be the woman who was raped because she has to have 4 witnesses before she can bring charges. Wait a minute. If you're the victim, you need a witness. Oh, you got to have. So there's supposed to be 4 male witnesses there. Really? You think a guy that does rape someone is purposely going to look out? And what if he finds there's only 3 people there? Does he care? He can rape her. There's 3 people there. They can never charge him with a crime. All right. This is the insanity of this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and since you brought it up, I want to make a comparison just in case Muslims are listening and trying to run off with that. That comparison between this mess and traditional European dowry marriage. Traditionally, up until, let's say, the mid 20th century of America, traditionally the man was the bread earner. He had the wealth, and a dowry for a woman, it wasn't a bribe or some kind of sultry exchange like we're reading here, like in mass media wants to portray, because it wants to destroy traditionalism and Christianity specifically, not traditionalism when it comes to Islam or Buddhism or anything like that, but when it comes to Christian tradition, then there's a problem. But the dowry was intended to help establish the home. Like, let's say a man is not wealthy. Well, a dowry is, what are we talking about? We're talking about some dishes, some clothing, something to help you get started. And so it's not like what we're reading here, some kind of filthy exchange for marriage, and the woman is a slave like mass media wants to portray, or any of that effect, but an arrangement to help a young couple get started as a young family. That's it.
And today the tradition continues in many families where a young girl is given a chest at a certain age.
Right.
They call it a hope chest. The girl will, at some point, with the parents' involvement, they'll get her, like china, her first set of china. She'll get sheets for the bed, for the marriage bed someday. little collections of things that are made for that day someday down the road. And I believe both my sisters had hope chests. So I remember, discussions about things that would go in there. I remember my sister, pretty sure I remember them each getting a set of china. Yeah, I mean, those things happen. But it was never a payment for, there was no money exchanged. It's just kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
And that's what it really is. This is all about payment for sex, not payment for marriage.
Can I bring scripture? Like do a comparison? Yes. Okay, cool.
Which one do you want to pull in?
I got Corinthians 6:15.
Okay, just a second.
I've got it on my share if you want to, but that's King James version, so not too
I
many
can pull it up.
All right.
Just let me just find my mouse here. Here we go. All right, and what is it?
Corinthians chapter 6. We can do. Yes, First Corinthians. Yes.
Okay.
Starting at verse 15. This might open a can of worms, but you can see the night difference.
Yeah. Know you not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of a harlot? God forbid. What know you not that which he is joined to a harlot is one day, for two, says one body, shall be one flesh. Yeah. But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit. And there it is, flee fornication. Every sin that a man does is without the body, but he that commits fornication sins against his own body. Yeah, get married first, then sex later. Okay, that's as simple as it is.
Yeah, let me read that next line. It's, what know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and not of your own. So, I mean, you're basically honoring God as you're honoring each other in marriage, only to each other. I mean, if you read the next chapter, it talks about virginity, and in the case where, but even then, and just in marriage, where all these things where you belong to each other in marriage, you're not expected to do these separations or nothing to that effect. It's repeated over and over again. You're one body. You're sanctified through marriage. You're expected to be pure when you enter it, and remain pure in chastity and loyal to each other. Completely different than what we're reading here. In the case of the Sharia law in Islam, 9-day difference.
And this is just, I mean, yeah, it's night and day. It's kind of mind numbing how awful some of this is. And I think I'm here. Yeah, we're almost done. All right. If you would like to read the left side, please.
Okay. Oops, sorry, let me enlarge it. All right. If the couple is separated by having annulled the marriage before intercourse because of an act on the bride's part, as when she becomes a Muslim, and the husband remains non-Muslim, she leaves Islam, and the husband remains Muslim. Sorry, what the heck? This is like, I can hear the Benny Hill music. Then she is not entitled to any of the marriage payment. But if it is because of an act on the husband's part, as when he becomes Muslim, leaves Islam, or divorces her, then she receives only half of the marriage payment. Or the husband, or I'm sorry, I'm laughing. This is horrible, I shouldn't be laughing. Or the husband may ask for half of it back, if she has already accepted it, provided the article given as payment still exists. If it does not, he receives half of the lowest market value of similar articles between the time of the marriage agreement and when the article ceased to exist. If the article was diminished while in the bride's possession, the husband has a choice between taking it back in its defective condition Or accepting
That's
half
kinda-
of its value. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what this means.
All right. So on the right, this is the Google Translate. If a separation occurs on her part before consummation, she's thinking, "This guy's nuts. I need to get away. This guy's dangerous." So she separates and she converts to Islam, and the husband remains a disbeliever. Okay, marriage is done. All right. If the husband or the wife becomes leaves Islam, the marriage is over. That's what this is talking about. First of all, if both of them are not Muslim, I mean, this is control over the non-Muslim in this situation. And that's the thing to think about. Muslims will tell you not to marry, and this comes straight out of Sharia. I mean, he can divorce her based on this too. You know, if he becomes Muslim or leaves Islam or divorces her, are you catching all this? I mean, if it's grounds for an annulment, it's going to be grounds for a divorce. If she takes possession of it, it remains with her original state. Otherwise, its value is halved. This is again talking about the dowry. The lesser of what it was from the time of the contract, that's that contract. Now, if the contract is lost, now you got to start thinking, really, if you lose your wedding certificate, marriage certificate, you can go get a new one. You really can. It doesn't mean you're divorced. It does not. Yeah. It's like they think, well, the paper's gone, so we're no longer married. Boy, I've heard people say marriage is just a piece of paper. No, it's much more. And this is like putting faith in the paper, is what it looks like. Do you agree with that, Nico?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And going back to all this whole price talking, this price and price and price. I mean, it's clearly here a financial arrangement for muta, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, and so again, what
Well,
we
you
just
can't.
sorry.
At the beginning, it wouldn't be muta because she's leaving him before they convert, before
Fair
one of them converts to Islam.
Hey, hey. But you know what we just read, like when these letters, when New Testament talks about the price that was paid in these situations, and it mentions that, and I intentionally left that out because it's a can of worms that's arguable. But when I speak to you without even saying anything, Paul, when I speak to you as a Christian, I'm talking about the New Testament. I say when the price was paid. What am I talking about?
Talking about the blood that was spilled.
Exactly. Whoop, there it is. I mean, that's all I had to say to Paul. I knew exactly what all the context. If we read scripture, we can read the context and see what, give you the proof of show you what he's saying. When we talk about price, we're talking about the sacrifice of Jesus Christ for our salvation, something spiritual for our well-being. We're not talking about a financial transaction for a sexual exchange. I mean, it's insane the difference between the two.
Well, this is a group of people that have no concept of the concept of atonement, where Jesus would pay a price for sin for them. No concept of that. And that's, I think, one of the most, when I've talked to Usama and many others, Usama drives this point home. There is nothing in Islam that explains what a sacrifice is. We've gone through the entire section of Hajj, and they talked about sacrifices. But their concept of a sacrifice is simply a meal. You cut the animal up and you eat it, or you give it away as food. There's no payment for sin in a sacrifice. It's never there. They talk about they say that Ishmael was to be a sacrifice for sin. I mean, to be a sacrifice for Abraham. But if you read the Quran, it has to be Isaac. That's in the Quran. But again, no mention of the purpose being, again, about sin. They don't talk about that ever. It's totally hidden. There is no place in all of Islam where they talk, in any of their scriptures, where they talk about sin being covered by a sacrifice. There's no place at all. They don't have any concept. Our concept of a sacrifice is totally different than theirs. Their concept is a feast. Hey, we're doing a sacrifice of Jerry out there. Jerry's the big bull, you know, okay. We're going to sacrifice him, and okay, everybody come on over for the party. And if the Christians and Jews did a sacrifice, and Christians don't have a reason to. If the Jews did a sacrifice, there would be a lot of repentance. There'd be praise. There'd be a lot of things. But a feast? Maybe later. But there'd be a lot of, thinking about, this is not their concept of, they don't have a concept of sacrifice. This is the controlling of definitions that we see in their language. In their faith structure, they continue to desire to control language, because if they do that, they can hide Jesus' sacrifice.
Even the Passover, at least as is continued, as we say in Pascha and traditional Christianity, like even that was converted to a thing of reflection of atonement.
Yes.
For that price that was paid.
And again, they don't have anything like that in their belief structure. So it's very hard for them to grasp the meaning, grasp the word sacrifice, atonement. I've given up trying to use words that big with Muslims. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm not saying, I just think that what they've been taught is so errant that it's very, very difficult. I'm going to, we're going to finish early.
Yeah.
So let's finish this up.
Sorry, yeah. I'll leave it to me to derail, but yeah, just one more note on that. Yeah,
okay.
Yes, I brought that up just to highlight that even in this, the Passover is a somber celebration from what I've observed. I could be wrong, but I'm not Jewish. I don't know, but it seems like a very somber, even in their tradition. But this is also a long feast, so this is a very festive thing. Yet again, through Christ, this price that was paid, it's all about atonement, all about spiritual, but not worldly. Nothing. Just you compare the two, and when you do that, you just want to wash your hands of this nonsense that we're reading. Sorry, I'll stop now.
Yeah. This is I want to go back to that marriage thing. There's, again, when we covered the Hajj, and we did that amusingly during the month of Hajj, which I find amusing. God is funny. And there was all the talk about sacrifice. All of it had to do with feasting and eating, or feeding the poor. Yeah, eating. Their sacrifices are given to the poor. There is no consuming fire that envelops their, they don't have a concept of it, which is sad. All right, we're going to go on. I think this is one of the last ones. I'll read the one on the left because it's really small. The amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides. I kind of get the concept of y'all paying maybe the same amount for a girl, maybe, so you have a ballpark figure of how much you should pay. If we look at it today, let's try and think of it like this. It's my nicest thing I can say about this. Guys, if you're supposed to go get an engagement ring, there's some rules about getting an engagement ring. Well, how much money do you have and earn is taken into consideration. We don't usually think of an engagement ring as something that the woman is going to receive as a payment, and that she should receive the same type of ring that somebody else received. We don't think like that. But if you start looking at it that way, that's my best way to compare it. Can you imagine if girls usually received an engagement ring with a diamond, and they're all pleased and happy if they're all the same size and it was less than a whole carrot? Would we all be happy, Ben? It would be a lot cheaper world out there. Yeah. You got 0.2 carrots. Okay, yeah, okay, we're happy now. Yeah, if we could get away with that, yeah. But that's unfortunately not the reality. So the amount typically received as a marriage payment by similar brides means that which would be desirable to a woman like her. A woman like the bride under normal circumstances, like her, meaning a woman of her relatives resembling her in such characteristics as age, intelligence, beauty, wealth, being virgin or non-virgin, and in having the same hometown. So all these girls in the same area, in the same clan, they're worth this amount called X, because they're all these girls that have the same amount of same age, their same intellect, same amount of beauty, same wealth, virgin or non-virgin. These are all okay. They all have that same value. Her relatives, I mean, it's putting a price on a girl. It's like you're buying a slave. Oh, wait a minute. Don't guys in Islam own their wives? Yeah, isn't this what we're talking about? You're paying for the wife. Yeah, a woman in it. This is, I'll just leave it like that. No matter what we're going to read on this section, you are paying for your wife here. And you're paying the average price.
Yeah, the market price thing kills me. What isn't that like kind of revealing that culture there and all this slave driving that we're talking about, the market price?
And then, okay, over here on the right, it says her agnates. No, I had to go look up that word. Agnates. So basically, her kin, all right, the kinfolk, the folk from the common, her kinfolk of the same age, intellect, beauty, wealth, marriage, virginity, whatever. This is like your average. What will be legal terminology today? Fair market value. Her fair market value is what we're talking about. Yeah. So if you got a woman, she's shaped just like so. She's a smart girl. She has more than a 6th grade education. Oh, this one went to. So all these girls went to college. They're going to be, and if they're that cute, that size, okay, they're all going to be worth this much. So you now know you have to pay that much. Wow. Sounds like you're buying a slave to me. Yeah. Like I said, I had to go look up the word agnates. I had a clue, but it kind of surprised me. All right, I think we only got a couple more. All right, we're going to do, yeah. Can you read the one on the left there, please, Nico? All right.
When a husband is unable to pay the marriage payment. M8.9. When the husband proves financially unable to give his wife the marriage payment, it has not been deferred before the first time they have sexual intercourse. Then the bride may annul the marriage, though if he proves unable afterwards, she may not. Okay. If husband and wife disagree in court when either side has proof, okay, as to whether he has given her the marriage payment, then the wife's word is accepted over the husband's.
That's probably the first time and only time in their whole lives. Yep.
But if they disagree as to whether they have had sexual intercourse, okay, the husband's word is accepted over the wife's. I'm biting my tongue there.
Okay, so he says, yeah, okay, guys are known for boasting when they have not done anything. Oh, so you're trusting him. Well, I thought you had to have 4 or 5 witnesses. 4 witnesses. He doesn't. He only has himself, but that's okay. Yeah. There was a tradition in some European cultures where the consummation had to be witnessed.
Oy vey. Ah.
Yeah.
Gross.
You'll hear about it. It was more of royal culture, I believe, in some just to verify the consummation. Because and part of the reasoning with that is we have these cousin marriages happening. And I'm picking on the Europeans while I'm saying this. And she might be a queen. I mean, she might be a princess from another country that's a cousin, and if they don't consume the marriage, she's going home. And that's the kind of reasoning.
Yeah, or West Virginia. I'm picking on Americans when I say that. I
go. I don't think they would need a. Well, you don't know. I mean, there's some cultures probably. I don't know. I don't have that much family down there that I know of.
Don't fear the trolls.
All right. On the right, I mean, just think about this. If the husband deceives her, did you notice on the left it didn't say he deceived her? He says, proves financially unable to give the wife marriage payment. On the right, the translation from Google says, if the husband deceives her with the dowry before the consummation. So he pretended to pay her. She thought she was paid, but he's a thief. Then she has the right to deceive him. Oh, wait a minute. What? If he deceives her after, then she does not have the right to. Oh, we're talking about.
Say.
Okay, we're all talking about sex again. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm trying to not say anything about the very last line. Or maybe I'm not going to say. I'm still biting my tongue. I mean, just yeah. I'm just not going to do it. I just.
If they disagree about the payment of the dowry, then her word is to be taken. If they disagree about intercourse, then his word is to be taken. Yeah, where's your 4 witnesses? Yeah, you want to see someone witness your consummation. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually had someone paid to watch the act. Paid to be observed.
Wow. I'm going to have to wash my brain after this one. It's impossible.
Yeah. All right, I think this is the last one. Yeah. I'll do this. A man is obliged to pay a woman the amount typically received. Okay, so again, her fair market value as marriage payment by similar brides. Again, fair market value when the marriage was consummated, when the marriage was invalid, or when a man forces a woman to fornicate with him. Wait a minute, what are we talking about? Muta? Wait, a man is obliged to pay a woman the amount typically received as marriage payment by similar brides. That's that fair market value when the marriage was consummated but invalid. Wait, are they married or not? It's constant. Wait, marriage was valid, but it's not valid because you consummated it. It's invalid. Okay. When a man forces a woman to fornicate with him, when a woman voluntarily fornicates with a man, she does not receive any marriage payment. So you can have muta and not pay her anything? Is that what they're saying? Now let's take a look what it says in Google Translate. Whoever has sexual intercourse with a woman under suspicion or in a corrupt marriage or commits adultery while she is forced, he must pay a dower similar to that of her peers. But if she consents to adultery, she's not entitled to anything. Oh. And this has to do with committing adultery. You wouldn't know that from reading the statement above. So this would be, having intercourse with someone who is already a bride to somebody else. Yeah. Nasty, nasty stuff. And now you know why it's the Book of BLEEP, and it is not the Book of Marriage.
Wow.
All right. So some exciting news. You can definitely support what I'm doing by going to Amazon or some other source and purchasing the books. There are actually 4 books coming out. There's going to be 2 books of Genesis and 2 books of Exodus. Hopefully will be out in time for Christmas. So I do know that they are coming out. I'm not sure of the exact colors of the covers, but they will be out, I believe, in time for Christmas. We'll see. Actually, that's only a week away, so maybe it'll be just after Christmas. But just to prove the interior of the books, just waiting for the covers and kind of excited. So we'll have new books out there, and yeah, this is this is a tough topic. I don't know how people can follow. I mean, how to? I mean, we're going through this slowly, and I'm looking at this one guy who's saying we have nothing to fear about Islam. Really? Did you know they can tell you if you can be married or not? Really? Did you think that you're okay and that the Muslims won't kill you? Do you know what Hijra is? I mean, I can go on and on and on for all this stuff. Do you know that your 6-year-old daughter is allowable to be married and and that she can have sex as soon as she enters puberty? Really, you're okay with those things according to Islam's law? Oh, we have nothing to fear. Okay, the guy moves next to you, and he's a definite submitter to Islam, and he loves Muhammad, and he wants to be just like him. And if you know Sharia, are you concerned about your 6-year-old daughter? I would be.
Yeah, I mean, people. Sorry, go ahead.
Yo, you keep going.
I was just going to say, people who make those claims. I mean, I get the wanting to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I mean, there's so many. For example, in all fairness, there are so many that when they do find these truths about Islam that they were unaware of before, they leave Islam at the very least, and then generally come to Christianity. But there's so many that are just straight out deceivers. That, I mean, long story short, how can you, if you're living in any predominantly Muslim land, Islamic land, not be aware of all the violence that takes place because of Islam and still make that kind of statement? You have nothing to fear from Islam.
Okay, let's take a look at Syria. What is in Syria is actually happening? You have Muslims killing Muslims, and Muslims only can have dictators as rulers, because otherwise, if you have an elected person, then you have a democracy, and it's not a Sharia compliant government. Oh, then you have people making laws that aren't. Oh, yeah. So once you have people making laws and rules, they're not Sharia compliant. So yeah, like really, and you got to allow those first cousin marriages, because that makes Muhammad happy, that make Allah happy. Yeah, I'm still kind of mind numbed about that little video. Did you catch the video? I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I can't. I just showed up when you saw me.
Oh, so yeah, we talked about the first cousin marriages in the UK that they're trying to outlaw.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't know if you saw that. Yeah.
No.
That's a statement of shock that they didn't. I mean, the honest truth was the guy who presented the law said he was totally unaware that it was legal in the UK, first cousin marriages. And I don't know that it is or isn't legal here, because I don't think most people. I don't know if there's a law against it, but I'm pretty sure that it might be referred to as incest here in the United States.
Yeah, there are some. I imagine that depends on the state, but I know there's states that do prohibit that. It is against the law, and all these other things that we talked about.
Yeah, and these are laws that would be referred to by individual states. That's just the way the United States works. It's done by state. Start thinking about protecting your children, though. I mean, if you understand Sharia, it helps you protect yourself, helps you protect others, and it helps you to here's the thing I think that helps interesting. I mean, it provokes conversations when you know more about Islam rules and stuff than the Muslims themselves. They don't know why they pray the way they do because it's not in the Quran. It's not in the Hadith. And you can say, yeah, I know it's not there. And they'll say, what do you mean you know it's not there? Where can you find it? And you say, oh, I've read exactly how you're supposed to pray. Yeah, you're doing that right. Just don't fart. Yeah. I mean, I encourage Muslims to read Shariah. I encourage them to read all of Islamic scripture. Why? Because as Nico had just said, they read Shariah, they find the harshness of what their faith teaches, and they can't wait to leave. Met a gentleman who left Islam because he realized how women were treated in Islam by Muhammad, how cruel he was, and what a misogynist he is. And I'm again even using that word on the great example of perversion. I don't think of another guy. I think that's the best title for him. The great example of perversion. Would you agree with that, Nico?
The greatest perverter? I don't know. Oh, there you go. Greatest perverter.
The greatest pervert of all time. I can think of, there's an actor that I used to think was the greatest pervert until I learned about Muhammad. Woody Allen. That's who I used to think was the greatest pervert of all time. And now I look at Muhammad as it's impossible to beat him. But yeah. I'm going to say good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Nico, any last words?
Again, apologies for showing up late. It looks like I missed something going on. I'm going to watch the rest of it afterward. But I mean, I'll just leave it at that. I think, I just want to wash. I just want to run to the shower.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take a shower afterwards. Yeah. And we've got more. We've got more to go. I just couldn't handle any more than we covered tonight. God bless everybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let's just relate it. Just Matthew 24. Blessed are those who endure to the end. This too shall come to pass. Hang in there. Keep your noose.
Keep praying for Muslims. Keep praying for the Muslims. Share with the Muslims what you're learning. We want them to hear about the greatness of Christ. We want them to hear about the superiority of Christ compared to this. I mean, the truth is Muhammad is a title. It's not a name. And Muhammad's name is never once mentioned by his God. How can he be a prophet? And if you read the Quran, you find out prophets only are from Israel. Oh, so Muhammad, again, this is in the Quran. Find it. Read the Quran. Get people to read the Quran. Get the Muslims to read the Quran so they will leave Islam. God bless everybody. Say good night. See you soon.